And good morning, afternoon, or evening, everyone, and welcome to this edition of the SFL Podcast, presented to you exclusively by APM Music. I am your host, Jack Brown, and alongside me here, well, we have two-thirds of the round table. We have Assistant Director of Player Personnel, Ryan Karpinski, and we have London Defensive Assistant, Rob Roby. But now we get to the special ones. Because you see, folks, we have three special guests up our sleeves. We have the two championship coaches, owners, Frank Gooden and Mighty RX, and SFL commissioner himself, Cam Irvine. Folks, it's a big show. Big show. Championship week, huge show. So first off, turn the mic to the guests. How y'all doing here tonight?
Yeah.
Grinding away, trying to get it right.
Just waiting for something to go wrong.
Well, I guess it could be worse in that case. I mean, so actually, Mighty, I was going to ask you, since before we started recording here, you mentioned the fact that you were starting to run a lot of sims for the championship game. At least on your end, how have a lot of the sims been going so far? Kind of, has the game been close, or has it been an absolute blowout? What sort of things have really come into effect over this past couple days of prepping?
A lot of closed ball games, like a lot of nip-tuck affairs. No blowouts one way or another, which is, good for everybody else, not so good for me. I don't like these, lemon booty games, as I like to call them. Like, that's not fun for me.
Yeah, well, I mean, given how many of those you've had this season so far, I mean, wouldn't be too surprised if that were the case. But Frank, on your end, have the Sims been going generally the same as Mice, or have they just been kind of all over the place?
Yeah, no, they're the same, man. This team is just an amazing team. I was telling someone else, I see why I went undefeated this season, because and this is props, kudos to Mighty. He has this team finely tuned, man. Finely tuned. They're every game they're going back and forth, man. So we're doing all we can to really push it. We're doing everything, and everything you throw at this team so far, they handle it in spades.
Yeah, and so kind of back over to you, Mighty, here. So, over the offseason, every offseason you like to say that you always like to make some like just wild adjustment to your team. Did you expect the adjustments that you've made from season 10 to 11 to work out as well as they've had, as to where you're currently 14-0? Granted, we've never had a 15-0 team in SFL history, as Frank knows all too well. And so, really, were you expecting things to go over this well up until this point?
Not this well. After last season, we wanted to switch it up a little bit because we didn't like the way our defense looked. Even though, we came away with the title, it's just we didn't want to rest on our laurels, give opportunity to other teams to catch on to what made us successful. So, we switched it up, added an extra linebacker, move Big Sexy back to defensive tackle, hoping to kind of shore up the defense a little bit. So in late game situations, we could send multiple rushers at any given time to any team we're facing. So that's the route we kind of went. Offensively, we want to kind of balance things out for Ron. The last season, Ron he was the offense. Ron made everything go. Ron had to throw. Ron had to run through almost every down. And we want to be able to, kind of, like I said, balance it out, give Ron a chance for third and shorts to not have to rely on his arm to lead us the way we want to go. That's why we made that investment in the fullback. And dude, he was like the most successful fullback the SFL has ever seen. So I think that was an investment well made.
And, kind of keeping on the topic of the running game. So, Frank, one of the big storylines of Tallahassee this year is now the fact that the Tallahassee running game, compared to last season, has just come alive with Jaya Aniolia. Aniolia? Where did that extra syllable come from? I don't know. but point being, he is essentially, in the running for MVP, in the running for Offensive Player of the Year, in the running for essentially any award that he could qualify for. How is that trying to really kind of change up your strategy that much? I guess same question I asked Mighty. Did you think that was going to go over this well? Sure, you had a couple more losses than I think you would liked, especially a one loss too many to Dallas of all teams. But were you expecting things to go over this well? And kind of how would you reflect on Jaya Aniola as a player?
Yeah, it was definitely always in the plan to develop him. And so we knew we wanted to transition over time. With last season, that teams were going to get tired of, Christian Christensen just throwing the ball all over the place, and they were going to gear up to beef up these secondaries to cut that out, and they sure did. And if once teams being able to have those secondaries to kind of keep calm Christensen down, we wanted it was crucial that we wanted to develop Jaye to become much more of a feature back, and that contributed to why we dropped our fullback last season. So yeah, and so when you have a running back like Jaye, yeah, you use him. So you can't anticipate. We didn't know that he'd have a record-breaking season this season. We just wanted him to be consistent and dependable and be able to run between those tackles. And so he's been able to do that. So yeah, we'll take the success.
Yeah, I mean, especially getting another shot for glory. A fun little fact right here. I think Cam pointed this out. This is the first time that any team has made it to back-to-back SFL championships since the season 1 and 2 Oklahoma City Renegades. And even then, they didn't meet the same team both times. They met the New York Knights in season 1, the Orlando Intimidators in season 2, and lost both games. Since then, they've appeared in half as many playoff games as they've appeared in championships during that streak. Fun little factoid for y'all. But now, Cam, I'm going to send this one over to you, kind of like from a top-down perspective. What would you say is like the main position, player battle within this game itself? Like, what sort of matchup do you see as going to be one of the main defining factors as to who wins this championship game?
Well, I think it's the kickers. And I'll tell you why I think it's the kickers, which obviously Alaska has a better kicker than Tallahassee just on paper. But this is why, okay? Everybody wants to talk about Tallahassee and Alaska have been these dominant forces, right? Tallahassee went 14-0 last year. Alaska was 12-2. Now Alaska's 14-0. Tallahassee is 12-2. If you comb through what these teams have been through over the last year, which makes this rematch so remarkable and so improbable, there's a reason why we've never seen this before. These two teams in the last 2 seasons have lost a combined 4 games, lost by 2 possessions, right? So the 3 losses between the 2 teams have all been by 1 score. And they say, well, that just goes to show you that they could have even been better than they ended up. But what people said over the past year, these 2 teams have won 18 1-score games. 18. 5 from Alaska this year and 3 year, and for Alaska 3 straight where they beat Vegas by 6, Sioux Falls by 7, and Houston by 4. These 2 are 18-3 and 1-score games in the last year. So who's going to be the superstar or who's going to have a great game or anything like that? And that's going to be the drama for Monday night. But I will say that if this game is close, these 2 teams are both very good at pulling out close games. Somebody's going to need to make or not miss a field goal. And so if it's a blowout, then somebody got the better of somebody. But if it's close, what's going to matter is the kickers.
Once again, the constant reminder from the SFL that kickers are in fact people too. No matter where you are in the SFL, kickers always seem to matter, except for in the South. I remember way back at the beginning of the season, there was that whole thing how no kickers down south. And I'm actually going to open up to the rest of the round table. So, if either of y'all, Ryan or Rob, want to pepper these championship owners here or potential championship owners with any questions of your own, go ahead, feel free, fire away.
Yeah. So I was actually gonna throw a question out here. I'll go ahead and start with Frank here. So it's something that I've been kind of wondering all day here. If you had the choice of one player in Alaska outside of Alex Dominguez, who would you actually move from that squad to your squad, and why would you do that?
Yeah, that's a good question. Pick any of those receivers. Any of the receivers. I'm probably going to give Christian another target that Cochran has right now. So, that could end up being the difference, having that third receiver.
Yeah, they have a good receiving core, obviously. I believe Steven called, I think it was either Como or Merrill was one of the best literally third options you could possibly have in the league. So I could see where you're coming from there. So Mighty, same thing with you, except you can't take Aniola.
Bane. Can you imagine Bane and Big Sexy on the same team?
All right.
Oh, loud quarterbacks. Oof, dread. Hey, you know what? Cancel the game. Give Alaska to the game. We don't want to get hit by them. We're good. We're fine.
There you go. All right.
Bane and Big Sexy. Oof. My goodness.
That almost sounds like it could be like a crime duo back in like the 60s or 50s or something.
60s or 50s, more like the 20s or 30s. Come on here, Ryan.
Yeah, probably. I'm sorry, I got my time frame messed up here. But all right, Rob, you got a question?
Yeah, man. All right, this is for Frank. Last year, season 10 championship game, going into the fourth quarter, 31-9, down, 31-9. What is your team going to do this year? Or what would you think that you guys would do differently this year, so that you're more into the game and it's not although you guys did come back, you guys kind of made a little bit of a run, but what will you do differently this year to make sure that you're kind of keeping up with the Storm and everything? Because we know they can come out, really explosive and put up a lot of points. So what are you guys going to do, to kind of stay in the game so it doesn't look so bad, going into the fourth this year?
Yeah, no, I think one of the keys to the game last season, and I mentioned this at the convention, is the Storm's ability to stay on the field on third down. We got to do a lot better against this quarterback in making those plays on third down when they count to get them off the field. So we're really, that's one of the things that we want to do. We want to see if our defense can actually get them off the field on third down. That is what contributed heavily to their ability to keep us off the field, but better than that, score. So yeah, that surprised us. It surprised us last year that they were able to do it. So, this year, understanding how well Mighty plans and how well, how thorough he is, we're running nonstop to, come up with a scheme to keep that from happening again.
Yeah. So I'm trying to figure out who's the underdog here, because this year Alaska is the 14-0 team, and you guys are the 12-2 team. And last year it was different, obviously. So I'm trying to figure out what Mighty, what are you guys gonna do, man? Because it seems like you guys have switched roles here, but you kind of seem like the stronger team a little bit, in my opinion. But last year they were the stronger team, it looked like. You know what I mean? So what are you guys gonna do, man, to try to keep a lead, from these guys?
There's a saying, Charles Oakley, If it ain't broke, don't break it. We got here playing storm football. Limit big plays. Give Ron a chance to be able to convert third down, like Frank just mentioned. To kind of to stay on time. Don't get behind the sticks. Get behind the sticks. Well, you know what I'm saying? Having to face the 4 horsemen. Yeah, right. No, thank you. I'm good. I'm good with that one. So that's what the plan is basically. So whatever by whatever means necessary to stay on time. So we're not at this point. It's not about style points. It's not about trying to look a certain way. Man, we're just trying to get this dub. At the end of the day, that's all we're trying to do. So, right. That's what it is.
Yeah, nice, man.
Right. So I gotta use that generic question that a lot of championship teams get asked. It's something that I'm actually really interested to hear from you guys about. And what was your guys' defining moment or your favorite moment from this season 11? With an undefeated season for you, Mighty. There had to have been plenty. You had the massive comeback. Even if it's not for your team, you had the San Francisco and Denver onside kick fiasco, the Las Vegas Denver safety play calling. What would you say was your favorite moment from the season as a whole? And actually, let's do for your team and then not for your team.
Down 31-7. Like if like how often a team could, and you gotta understand, our first season we had the largest comeback in SFL history, down 21 in the playoffs to pull out that win, which was crazy. Because last play of the game, I don't know if Cat remembers, DRSM catches that bomb, and he looks like he's about to score and win the game for Houston. And DJ Drew, our free safety at that time, hawked him in at the 2-yard line as time expired. So to have that, and then the following season, Sioux Falls just returns a favor to us, and then comes back from 21 down week 2 against us. That's game Ron threw 9 interceptions with 2 pick sixes. So to come, to be able to be down 24 in the second half, and Ron just say, "All right, guys, I'm ready now." Like he had to work up a lather, and just Ron just lost his mind in that second half, man. Just threw dragons everywhere, left and right. So for team wise, that would be it for me. But man, Jaye, it's not even a particular moment. Just Jaye from Jump Street, just hurting people, feeling. like you load the box, empty box, light box, no box, circle, doesn't matter. Like Jaye is coming. Yeah. The pain train. Oh my gosh, like Jaye was something else. So it wasn't, so for team wise, that 24-point comeback against Vegas, bananas. But just watching Jaye from afar, and Jaye just broke another record. Jaye just broke another jaw. It's like Jaye was a problem, man. So I'm having a scheme against that. Yeah. So you can imagine why the Xbox hasn't been turned off as of yet.
Oh, I believe it. Yeah. And one thing I do want to mention that for people that haven't actually, before I get to Frank, that haven't actually been following 100% these two teams, both of these teams have had at least one person break a record so far this season. With Alex Dominguez and the sack record that I believe he was the original holder for it. I could be wrong on that.
No, you're right.
And then Eniola, or as Christian likes to call him, the Semiola, I believe it's what he calls him.
Yeah, Semiola.
He destroyed people all season, and you're not wrong on that. He set the rushing record, and I got to be honest, I tried helping Eddie Gage with game plan against him, and it's a nightmare. It is an absolute nightmare. So, what about you, Frank? What is your favorite from this season for your team as a whole, and then kind of just on the season, just favorite moments, basically.
Yeah. So for us, it came in the playoffs against Queen City. Being able to limit their running back. So concerned with their running game. And, we really, we consider that to be a key to victory, and being able to hold him down, I believe right around 60 yards, maybe a little under. just a few carries when he normally dominates the game. That was just for me on a team, sort of a team concept, team win. I was really just relieved more than anything, and then the defensive line went ahead and took it to their quarterback. So for me, that was like really probably the most satisfying in the playoffs, because we felt like he was gonna toast us if we didn't control him. Overall, that's actually a tough one. You know what? You do gotta give it to Dominguez, man. He was wrecking. He was a one-man wrecking crew, truly, all season long, and it's not even close. It makes you rethink putting all the resources in an entire defensive line when you see what Mighty was able to do with just one defensive tackle. Really, really good. Being a defensive guy, understanding, enjoying the line play like I do, through and do what he did. It was cool. And now that I'm actually seeing it live and in person as I prep against Mighty, I'm not liking it so much.
I can understand that.
Right.
So I'm gonna actually open this one up to you too, Commish. And I just want to kind of see. I mean, obviously you don't have a partiality to any specific team, but I mean you've called countless games. You've talked with countless peoples about anything SFL related, and I have to know, what would be your favorite moment from season 11 up until now?
For me, outside of the convention, but that's very biased because I had to put the whole thing on. But outside of that post game, never forget the bizarre circumstances of Aaron Arrington being able to be put in the game. And as a commissioner, we deal with depth chart stuff all the time. I dealt with a situation that I couldn't fix. and whether I by mistake caused it or whether I didn't do anything wrong, I've never not been able to anyway. And it was so at the time, right before he returned the punt for a touchdown. At the time, it was very frustrating. All you can think about as the guy in charge at the time is how many days are going to be wasted dealing with this problem. Type of problem is it? Is it a major problem? Is the file corrupted? Is New Orleans going to have to be rebuilt? Are we going to have to move some teams around or throw the game out or whatever? I mean, you're filled with that anxiety that everyone else can easily sort of laugh off as what's going on around there. And so for to appear in the second half, not just appear, turn one back for a score, and then just say, nah, I'm good for the rest of the game, and not see him back again. I'll never forget the one pass to the sideline, and he's like, gift that. He's just staring into the camera like a lifeless or blob, right? And it was crazy. Like he was taunting everybody. So good right now. I don't have to play for the rest of the game. And it was just so bizarre. And New Orleans played so well that night. It was the best they played all season there. And it not even when Aaron Arrington wasn't even supposed to be on the field. New Orleans offense was out of this world. They were basically perfection. On the road at a team that was fighting for a playoff spot that has a great locker room, a great coaching staff. It was just so original. It was one of those That's why you keep playing these games. That's why you keep running these sims, because and that was a bizarre one. That was a crazy sim, and it was something that is hard to forget, especially in the moment when I don't think I've ever been thinking about a single play, like the next quarter. It's all I could think about. I just couldn't believe that it happened.
Yeah, and I mean, I can't even imagine literally the anxiety basically going through you as you're like, wait, where is he? Why is he not here? What's happening here? Um, and I
When
mean,
you have to check depth charts and substitution packages before every single sim,
yep.
and especially for primetime games where you might double or triple check that to make sure that it is correct, and then you see that it's correct, and then you go into the game and it's still wrong, and you think to yourself, I don't know what else to do here.
Yeah, it is basically the only thing I can imagine, literally, like you said, was like I can't even imagine like, do I need to rebuild this entire file? Like, do I have to scrap the team, rebuild the team from the ground up again? Just that uncertainty can just wreak havoc. Let's put it that way on your mind. And I mean, it seemed like you guys did it all pretty well going through it, and kind of
Still
persevered
got to
enough
call
to
the
keep.
game.
Exactly, you get it. The show must go on. I mean, it's got to be. It's one of those things that's one of the truest things that could be ever said. And I respect you guys for the way you guys kind of handled it, and it was insane the way he returned. I mean, you couldn't have asked a more dramatic return than what he did. So, all right, Jack, I'm gonna let this one go back to you.
Alrighty, and now I think that once we get past through the championship, obviously next up we have some off-season fun stuff to go through. We have the new sponsor, Fuel, which could launch some pretty big things, considering how this SFL championship game goes over. Like Cam, I think for people who probably didn't quite catch kind of the full extent of what could be done with Fuel from the announcement of it, would you mind explaining maybe to some of the people some like more of the exact things that could be coming in the very near future if this Fuel partnership works itself out?
I tell you, it's a tremendous amount of back end stuff that we have to sort of sift through and set up, and they kind of want to learn with us and learn the space and figure out how they can be of assistance to us and be a valuable partnership, mutually. Fuel has the potential to just revolutionize. I mean, it's game changer, total game changer. You want to talk about, what are the differences between the NFL and the SFL? Well, Fuel, giant step in the direction of saying there aren't any differences in terms of the entertainment product and model and championship game. I'm so excited about the championship game. I got a little overwhelmed today, I must admit, and I kind of fell apart in anxiety, and that's why you guys called me saying, "Hey, where are you? You're 15 minutes late for the podcast." But the and what we are trying to bring to this league, and all of the hard work that goes into this, is because we know that to really deliver what we want to ultimately deliver on, which is we want you to feel like you are a pro football player, and we want you to feel like you are a football star that is being celebrated and talked about by others. We need to be able to celebrate you as an individual, and to celebrate you as an individual when there's 250 of you and there's one guy or two guys or three guys at the controls of how you are celebrated. What Fuel essentially is allows us to do is it allows us to more easily celebrate the individual and the individual teams within the league as a whole. and create content that is more specific and teams and really just give us an opportunity to provide that 24/7 entertainment model, because we have thousands and thousands and thousands of content. I would say that the league has at least 500 hours of content that no one's ever seen. And the fact that no one's ever seen it is because we've never had the capabilities to produce it. And it's between partnering or buying a software that is built for a consumer and partnering with a business that is built for an entertainment platform or for a professional sports league or anything like that. And so that's sort of the difference. Like people might ask themselves, well, how is that different from any Adobe product or any sort of video editing software that you might purchase? And that is sort of that difference. We're not just an individual content creator anymore. We are, we're an entertainment product. We're an esports entity. We're a sports league entity in a way. And so I'm out to prove Monday night in the championship game we can be every single game, and it's going to take a little while to get there. To do this for every single game, but for this one game, the absolute potential that has to offer from a presentation standpoint, and I couldn't be more thrilled. I don't want to give away too many secrets, so I don't want to go into super duper depth about what Fuel is, just because we haven't finalized or firmed up that long-term partnership yet. So I don't want to talk about things that we might have that we might not have, if that makes any sense. But if we're able to come together on something that makes sense for both companies, you're going to see brand new content, and so much content that you're not going to be able to believe how much we're able to produce.
Your head's gonna spin.
Yeah, I mean, listening to you talk about it, Cam, I mean, I know it's not an official, like, full long-term sponsor, but it sounds like something that could be an absolute amazing asset, and I really am excited to see what you can put together for the Monday night championship game.
Yeah, and also with that, we would like to thank the two championship owners, Frank Gooden and Mighty RX, for coming back onto the podcast, or coming back for Mighty's sake. First time he's been on here since probably May or June, and first time Frank's been on here, I think, ever. I don't know the exact time he was last on here, but what?
Yeah, first time.
Yeah.
Hooray! We did it, guys. But yeah, with that, thanks for coming on, you two. It's always a pleasure to have you on.
Yeah, wanna let you guys get the chance to be able to get back to your game plan. You got. I heard there's some kind of big game coming up on Monday. I don't know much about it.
Yeah, I think it might be part of Monday Night Football. I don't know.
Thanks for having us.
By the way, playbooks are doing an hour, guys. I'm just kidding. You have a.
Oh, loud!
I'm just kidding. They're doing 1 minute.
So you two guys have a good night. I'll let Cam say something first.
All right.
Hey, while I had you guys both here, playbooks are due Saturday night, end of day Saturday night. So everybody knows when Sunday morning hits, the game plans will be in, and everybody's just at that point.
It's official then.
Yeah. They had no sleep.
That's it. You already know. Sleeping on the couch.
All right, guys. Well,
no sleep like the night before the convention for me.
All right, guys.
Okay.
But that actually, yeah. But that actually would be a genuinely interesting concept. Like, if, like, how you have those cooking shows where it's like, you have a half hour to create a recipe. what if we had like something where it's like you have a half hour to complete a playbook from complete scratch? That could be an interesting little concept. Maybe that's what we're going to do for the Pro Bowl. No. This is the reason why you should never give me ideas.
As long as they don't have to report it and I have to submit error reports. Sounds interesting.
That sounds interesting for sure.
Hey, you never know. Things could get very interesting in general, but kind of I want to get back on to like further off-season related things. So obviously, Ryan, you're now the new assistant director of player personnel for the Simulation Football League, coming in right in time for the off-season. So kind of coming into this, explain to the people what exactly your job is going to be now going into just kind of really with life now with being Andrew's right-hand man.
Basically, I mean, you pretty much nailed it right there. That last little bit. I'm gonna be Andrew Esteli's right-hand man. Andrew being the big guy, the director of player personnel for the SFL. And basically, what I'm going to be helping here in the off season is I'm going to help him kind of keep track of the rookie activities, free agent activities, and bits. Also for season 12's progression. I'm not sure quite yet. We haven't really got a whole much time to discuss between Andrew and Cam about what fully is going to be entailed for being included for free agent signings and the like. I don't know if that's going to be strictly for them as well still. And I'm sure that we have time for us to be able to do that. Cam's got a lot on his plate right now. I know he's got the sponsors he's trying to work with. He's got the championship game he's got to worry about here. But for the short term right now that I can see for the foreseeable future basically is I'm going to be helping out with doing the rookie big board again this off season. It was a really good thing that got a lot of conversations going on this last off season, and it's something that we want to continue going forward as we have drafts. Besides that, I'll be helping kind of keeping track of the cheered bits as Cam confirms them for the rookies and for the free agents that are either returning players from previous seasons or players that are leaving their teams this offseason to possibly pursue another free agent position with another team. Other parts of that basically anything between that and God knows what else. I have no idea. I just got into the start of this here, and it's already kind of getting a little crazy. It started off as being being asked to be a moderator, and I honestly never really thought it would end up being this big of a thing. And before the podcast, we had talked about it a little bit about when I first originally knew. It was originally partway through this season 11 that the idea actually came to fruition. So I did know for a little bit beforehand, and it was really hard to not be able to let anybody on. But at the same time, it's also really hard to be able to to not be able to do the full job that I was going to eventually be doing because I wasn't able to see into the behind the scenes basically of everything else. I wasn't able to help Andrew with the player progressions, which are one thing that I will be helping out starting next season as well. And he'd pop in with a question every once in a while, something he may want my opinion on. We deliberate over it a little bit, and then he'd send it off to Cam for approval. And that's basically what it's going to be at the moment until stuff really starts to kick off with the free agency and everything like that. So that's pretty much, to my knowledge, what my job is currently. I'm sure Cam has more in store for me, and I'm more than willing to help out as much as possible to help the league out. It doesn't matter what it is, really. I may be the assistant director of player personnel, but I'm willing to do just about anything to help this league grow as big as it possibly can.
Yeah, and even if that means changing back to your old profile picture.
I got a few people that told me it kind of creeped them out, so I might change it back and forth every once in a while. Someone specifically told me it looked like I was staring into their soul, and I'm like, good, be afraid, be very afraid.
Something tells us that would be like a Chris Braun thing. That'd be something he'd say.
Yeah, he's an interesting guy. Let's put it that way.
And now, actually, real quick before we go, since you mentioned that you're kind of looking at the rookie big board, and Cam, I also kind of want your input here too. Looking at this new class of rookies coming into the SFL for season 12, who have been some of the guys that have really kind of caught your attention, excluding the owner created players? So we're not looking at Max Forrest, Echo Love, Leonidas Richards, Ten Humey. We're not looking at those guys. No.
Or
We're looking
oh,
at the
don't
actual rookies here.
don't
What?
don't forget my favorite one, the what is it? The Supreme Leader. That was T-Pat's, I believe it was, player's name. Yeah, T-Pat. Supreme Lee Weber. I love the Supreme part of that.
Yeah,
So,
but
go ahead.
yeah. So I mean, really, kind of to ask you guys before we go, kind of, what has been kind of like your like, admittedly, really early notice on kind of the whole aspect of how these rookies are looking to shape up coming into the draft?
I guess I'll go ahead and go first on it. The number one name that comes to my mind immediately is Johnny Savage. He's been an extremely active rookie within the Discord. He's been talking with just about everybody. I know he has had his moments where he kind of rubbed people a little bit the wrong way. Kind of, I guess some people were throwing around the word arrogant around or cocky, and honestly, I didn't really see it being as arrogant as he's proud of what he's able to do. He's literally just now learning the game of All Pro football of APF, and he's building a defense, and I can see in him part of kind of like what I had in me when I first joined the league. He wants this league to succeed. He wants to be the best that he can be, and eventually he wants to at least at minimum be a coach. I mean, he could become an owner for all I know. But he's the first name that comes to my mind. Another one is a Moody Mitchell. He's come on there. He's been very active in the Discord. I believe he's up in the top 10 for chat ranking. I believe he has all of his bits already cheered as well. There's a couple other people in there. I know. I know I'm gonna murder this name, and I apologize immediately for this now. But it's Hayapo Kinloa, I believe is how you say it, and he's another one that's been very active in the chat. And at the moment, he has a little bit of medical issues that might be kind of stopping him here in the near future. Right now, it doesn't look like it, and I mean he's really going at it hard, and I could see easily those three guys could possibly be interchangeable for the top three draft picks in this upcoming draft.
Yeah, and Cam, have there been anyone else in particular that you've really kind of noticed kind of taking a hold within this current rookie class?
Oh, I think not any specifics, and I wouldn't want to give the commissioner's stamp of approval on any one particular person because that's a pretty high honor. No, I'm just kidding. But no, I think the interesting thing every year is the fact that it's not over. We are slated to be on the front page again Monday. We will, I believe, have one of, if not the strongest nights of viewership. It is the day after TwitchCon concludes. Going to be some heavier traffic involved. There's a lot of the high-profile streamers and such and things of that. Either we hope are going to be too tired to be creating their own content, or will have already created it at TwitchCon or during TwitchCon. The interesting thing every offseason is that the guys that are already here, right, that have a beat on their competition, it's pretty important because that stay on top so that you don't get swallowed up by newest batch of rookies who might be coming in, because sometimes 5 people join Discord and sometimes 60 join Discord like that. Like the one night, I believe it was the championship game of last season. many people that flooded Discord and were brand new, and I'm sure that there are people listening to this podcast that were a part of that group. And you never want to lose your spot or lose being the king or up high. So if rookies feel like, oh, I think I'll settle around 8 or settle around 9, and I think I'm in pretty good shape. It's not over yet. It's not over yet. There's a long way to go, and getting an exciting time, especially with the rookie showcase being able to give these guys some potential bonuses as well, especially for those late comers. Watching it all play out leading up to the draft. So I think that's the most interesting thing right now is just seeing our current class and seeing them get integrated into the community and having a good time, but also knowing there's a storm on the horizon full of new faces that are going to find us for the first time and go, whoa, what the heck is this? This looks crazy. So it's going to be exciting.
To kind of build off of what you were saying there about a rookie thinking that they're going to be a certain kind of place, I do want to remind everyone. Last season, Cody Hill was projected to be the #1 ranking rookie. He had all of his bits in. He had the chat ranking. He was active. He ended up falling from what was projected to be #1 all the way down to #9, I believe it was, to Vancouver. And so you're never guaranteed a spot as to where you're gonna go. Everyone thought he was gonna be one of those top 3 picks, and he ended up going #9. So, and honestly, don't sell yourself on your draft position. Honestly, all it is just what team you're gonna go to. It doesn't matter. To me, when I first joined the league, I didn't get the enjoyment of going through a draft. I joined after season 9, and so that was when we still did the free agent signings basically. And the whole draft experience from this last season was a new experience for me. And one thing I noticed was a lot of these rookies were really getting stuck on where they needed to be drafted position wise, and honestly, just enjoy the ride, guys. I mean, you're gonna go where you're gonna go. You're gonna play where you're gonna play, and even then, I believe I can't remember what pick it was. It might have been I think pick 5 or 6 when Chicago ended up drafting a cornerback at a copper level in the first round. So don't get sold on 100% on where you're going to be drafted at in number wise. It doesn't fully tell you exactly what your value is going to be based off where you're going to be ranked.
Think about like some of the higher profile draft picks from this season. We had the #1 overall pick, Xander Gold, through the first month and a half, looked like he went into a terrible situation. The New Orleans had no offense. They couldn't get anything going. And then all of a sudden everybody was talking about Xander Gold, and you could see that he made over the course of the season and that young coaching staff made, and they nearly made a playoff run. And then the pick right after him, Thomas Rahman, he's going to a team that's a new team, but Max Jackson, has a good young resume, and Vegas made the playoffs, but Rahman went through more growing pains than your average quarterback. And you go all the way up the draft board to Kentez Johnson. He's in the running for offensive rookie of the year, and he was the 4th quarterback taken in the draft. So you just, every situation, every team, every locker room, every cap situation and playbook, the team's identity on either side of the ball, it's all different. There's no, if I'm #1, I'm going to be the best, and if I'm number 30, I'm going to be the worst. It just doesn't exist. Just like in the NFL, it just doesn't exist. And part of the fun is seeing all those cookies crumble and everybody fall into place and find a home, either short term or long term. Because after a season, you're more than happy to change.
Yeah, and none of this is to say that you can't have your own preferences. Like, sure, if you prefer to go somewhere, then that's fine. That's fine by us. Well, and also by you. Just don't get locked into anything with the SFL. Go into this thing with probably the most open mind imaginable. When I came in like, I don't care what team I get on, just so long as I have fun here. Then I get picked up by Mexico City, and 6 weeks later, I'm world champion. What do you know? That was a fun.
Yeah,
That's crazy, Jack. That's a
it
wild
really is
story, Jack.
So I mean, it's the same deal. I mean, like I said just a second ago, enjoy the ride. I mean, if you're looking for ways to be more involved in the league, we have excellent teams. We got the broadcast team, we have the stats team, we have the beat writing team. I mean, if you feel like you just want to start off as a player, just to be a player, build the player how you want. Just enjoy the ride for a little while here. You don't need to be drafted over number one overall, like Cam said. It all comes down to how the team's going to be able to use you, and you making sure that you hit your progressions each week. I can't stress enough the impact missing 1 week of progression could have. In For some players, it could literally mean missing almost an entire season if you're trying to save up. Like, you got a silver player saving up for a progression. That takes, I believe it's 4 weeks for a low value, 5 weeks for a high value. You save for 4 weeks, you miss that fifth week, you, instead of losing just the 1 week of progression, you lost five there. Not only that, not only did you lose the five, if you're going to actually continue on and save up again, you actually just technically lost another 4 more weeks having to save up for that animation again. So the biggest thing I could stress, have fun, but just make sure you commit. If you're gonna do it, make sure you can stick to the commitment for it. Just make sure it's one thing that takes about 10 seconds to submit your progression, and it'll save you a world of a headache.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that right there, boys, I think that's a good place to wrap up. So with that, thanks for tuning in to this championship SFL podcast presented to you exclusively by APM Music through the power of YouTube. I am your host, the SFL Podcast, Jack Brown, and alongside Ryan Karpinski. That's how you say your name. I was like so hung up on Ryan Michaels, but now I have to start referring to you as more of my boss.
I've had a few people telling me that they keep thinking that I am Andrew, and then they realize it has the assistant in front of it. They're like, oh, that's right, that's Ryan. So it'll take some people a while to get used to. I mean, even a lot of people have decided they're going to call me Ryan. And just one of those things where it's going to take time. I'll still be called Ryan. Some people will call me ADPP. I mean, it doesn't matter to me.
DPP the second.
I called John Bond Max Jackson like 15 times when I was in Vegas. So
I mean, it's how you know people. I mean, you know people by their monikers that they go by in the league, and a lot of times it's a pseudonym. Not a lot of times will it be an actual name. So I mean, it's totally understandable in my opinion.
It's not even guaranteed if it's going to be readable. I mean, look at me. Hence why I've been changing it so often over the past couple days. But now let's get over to the actual closure, if I can remember your name. Anyway, so thanks for tuning into this championship edition of the SFL Podcast, presented to you exclusively by APM Music through the power of YouTube. I'm your host, Jack Brown, and alongside Ryan Karpinski and Commissioner Cameron Irvine, we say thanks for listening and hope you enjoy the SFL Championship game.